Good Monday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully, everyone has had a fantastic Monday. I am your meteorologist, Peterson, and let's go on and talk about the weather for your future and obviously for your September and fall. I will say that obviously today we know was Labor Day, and even though, some of us may have not really done anything today, except for maybe had some good food. It we are already done with one day of the week. Yes, one day of the week already complete. We are done with Monday, and we barely did anything. So that is fantastic to hear. So I just wanted to say that. Also, if you have not hit the like button or subscribe button yet, make sure you're going to do so. I cannot stress enough. We are at 584 subscribers. If you have not hit the like button or the subscribe button yet, because I can see already there's some people that have not hit the like button yet, make sure that you go on and do so. Hit the subscribe button as well, and share it with all the people that you know. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. If you share, it will come back to you. So please, 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 please share it with all the people that you know. I cannot stress that enough, and especially since the tropics are starting to get a little bit more active, and we're doing our September and fall forecast now. This would be a fantastic time to go on and share it with people on social media or anything like that. But I'm not going to waste any more of your time in terms of telling you to hit the subscribe button and the share button for now. Obviously, we'll come back to it, but let's go on and talk about the actual weather now. And so, in terms of current conditions right now, there is nothing going on for the entire state of South Carolina. And if we go on and move our way out towards the entire U.S., rainfall that goes from Florida over into Alabama, over into Mississippi, Texas, getting in on some of that rainfall, as well as Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Minnesota, and then over here we have some rainfall in Arizona into New Mexico, and then also in Montana and the Northwest we have some rainfall. But for the most part, honestly, it's not much. It's not a lot right now. It's not a lot right now. For your current cloud cover, we do have some low clouds going on right now over there inside of the upstate of South Carolina. And then maybe some cloud cover going on inside of the PD. Midlands, though, low country, looking relatively clear. If we look at our cloud cover for the future, you can see that cloud cover starts to push its way back up into the PD/Grand Strand area of South Carolina. And if we move into tomorrow morning, it's around 7, 8, 9 a.m., cloud cover again, not too existent. Not too existent at all. It's going to be mostly clear throughout the entire state. And then even as we move into the afternoon, that cloud cover will increase. We will start to see some more widespread cloud cover activity, especially in the upstate. But the low country, the PD and Grand Strand, stays on the clearer side. Current temperatures right now, 71 in Columbia and 69 in Orangeburg, 71 in Somerville, as well as 69 in Sumter, 70 also inside of Florence, and even 72 in Georgetown, 74 in Charleston, and 74 in Myrtle Beach, 71 in Conway, and even 68 in Greenville, 67 in Spartanburg, and 65 in Rock Hill, 66 in 65, that is inside of York, and then we also have around like 70 inside of Aiken. Low temperatures for tonight, 59 in Greenville and 57 in Spartanburg, 57 in Rock Hill and 61 in Columbia, 61 in Orangeburg and 62 in Walterboro, 68 in Charleston and 69 in Hilton Head Island, 64 in Georgetown and 66 in Myrtle Beach, 60 in Aiken, and even 59 up there in Cheraw. No precipitation, according to the National Weather Service, is expected as we move through the next 24 hours or so. So for now, we're not looking for any sort of precipitation as we move through the next 24 hours. Crazy score for tonight, we're at a 6. We are at a 6 for tonight. We are at a 6. And not too much of a surprise. Not too much of a surprise at all. as there's not a lot going on. Obviously, we're not having a flood risk. We're not having any sort of severe weather. It's going to be cool and dry. There is obviously a minimal fog potential as we move later into tonight. Very low humidity limits fog formation, though patchy shallow fog is possible inland. For the SPC outlook, let's go in and look at the new one, because obviously they always do this to me. Actually, they haven't even put the new one out yet, so never mind. This is the most official one and the most updated one that they have for now, and you can see up there inside of Oconee County where there still is a thunderstorm risk. That's inside the light green, and then that's the only area. Off the coast, you have a little threat, but it's nothing that we need to be concerned about or anything like that inland. Some might move inland, but we'll look at the models. I'll show you the models and see what the models say for later. Tomorrow, no thunderstorm risk for tomorrow and Wednesday. The upstate, chance for a thunderstorm up there in the upstate on Wednesday. Now for excessive rainfall, no excessive rainfall is expected as we move through the next 5 days, so we are good with that. And so let's go on and talk about the model. So starting off first, here at 9 o'clock p.m., you can see the rainfall activity going on off the coast. That's where that potential thunderstorm activity could be. And you can see just as we get later into tonight, an isolated sprinkle could move in, but we're not really looking for anything too bad. And then as you just continue your way through all the way to 9, 10, 11 to 12 p.m., it stays dry all the way into 1 p.m. If we continue even further into the future, you can see that rainfall moving on up there inside the upstate as we move later into tomorrow evening. It only seems to be just like some light shower potential, but it's nothing too heavy that I'm looking at right now, though things can change. It's looking like that it's not going to be too widespread. It just looks like that it's going to be up there inside the far upstate. As you push into tomorrow night going into Wednesday morning, high pressure forms, and will it keep that rainfall out of the upstate? Does not seem to do so, as we have some scattered shower activity that moves into the upstate Wednesday morning going into Wednesday afternoon, but everyone else stays dry. So now that that's out the way for the short-term future, let's go on and talk about the long-term future and what the long-term future has to say. As we go on and push this forward, you can see that for the most part, that rainfall activity stays mostly up there inside the upstate. You're not seeing it too much near the coastal regions. You're seeing it up there inside the upstate. Now, once you get into like September the 6th, September the 7th, that might change, and we might see some more rainfall activity down into the coastal regions, down into the low country, down into the Grand Strand area. And we move through September the 10th, September the 11th, September the 12th. But I'm not seeing anything in terms of a big storm system. I'm not seeing too much in terms of a big storm system just as we move through. You can see I can see a low pressure, but I'm not really seeing anything in terms of, oh, we're going to have to watch for some severe weather. We're going to have to watch for a huge flooding event. I'm not seeing anything like that just as we move through the next 300 hours or so. And speaking of, I can go in and check what the next 7 days has. It has a warming trend, which again, we'll talk about that. The low to increasing rain chances, as obviously as we move later into this week, it might go up a little bit more, like in the upstate. And then there's no significant flood risk. And overall, that's pretty much it. But I will say that there is a front that will be moving through as we go into the dew points. You can see the front moving in, kind of like right here, September the 6th. You can see the difference from it. And it pushes through and it brings cold air, but it won't be for long. It will not be for long. We'll have some warm air that immediately comes right back after it. So, unfortunately, to the people who love the cool air, you might have yourself a little bit of a cool down. As going to maybe like September the 7th, September the 8th maybe. But that warm air will come right back and we will start to receive those hot temperatures again. Now, what do I mean by hot? I mean temperatures up into potentially the 100-degree mark again as we go into September. So if you thought that we were done with the 100-degree temperatures, unfortunately, I have some bad news because that our 100-degree temperatures here in South Carolina are not done yet. But overall, that's what I wanted to talk about for the warm air, the cool air, obviously. And so that's all that I have to say for our long-term future. So now it's time to talk about the main reason why a lot of people are here tonight. That is because of the September and the fall forecast for 2025. And I think, in my opinion, that this fall and this September might be a bit unique, and I'll explain why. I will explain why, or maybe unique, kind of maybe like in like a normal way. I'll talk about why in just a second. I'll talk about why. But starting off, as we get through here, you can start off by looking at my screen. You can see the monthly temperature outlook. Now this goes into just for the entire month of September. For the entire month of September, this is the monthly temperature outlook for the month of September. This was issued today, yesterday. And you can see that, they have an above average chance for some higher temperatures. So they will most likely have some above average temperatures as you move throughout the month up there inside of the Rocky Mountains, for example. But look over here in the east, equal chances. So when I say uniquely normal, this is kind of a factor as of why it's just going to be a normal September in terms of temperature. Now, will you have some below average temperatures? Absolutely. Will you have some above average temperatures? Absolutely. But it's during an equal time frame, if that makes sense. So kind of like, it's almost like half the month is going to be below average, while half the month is going to be above, which is why it says equal chances, because it's an equal 50-50 of both warmer than average temperatures and below average. But that's just temperatures. What about rainfall? Rainfall, we actually will be above average. So we possibly could receive more rainfall than what we usually receive in a September, just as we move through this month. And so you can go on, or I can go on real quick, and just check and see how much rainfall we could potentially receive as we move through this, at least for half the month. And of course, this is just one model run. It's just one. It is just one. But if I go on and check and see how much rainfall we could potentially receive over like the next 360 hours, though, on an ensemble perspective, it seems for the most part, which I'm going to get it, here it is right here, that, it's a bunch of models kind of put together. But it says throughout the first part of September, most of us will receive at least an inch to potentially 2-3 inches of rainfall throughout the first part of September. And this is just the first part. Again, this is not the second part. This is not, the last couple of days. This is from September the 1st going into September the 16th. But that's just for September. What about for the entire season of fall? So here we go right here. This is for the seasonal temperature outlook for fall. And again, unfortunately, for the people who like themselves some cool air, fall is looking to be above average in terms of temperatures. I know. Above average in terms of temperatures for September, October, and November. And I say this every single time, and I'm going to keep on saying it. Does this mean that we won't have any cold fronts or anything like that? Absolutely not. We will have cool air move through. But for the majority of fall, it looks like that it will be up more above average than below. Precipitation, kind of the same thing that we saw for September, but it will, again, be above average, at least for that low country, southern Midland, and coastal Grand Strand, or just Grand Strand region in general for South Carolina as we move through the fall months. But the upstate Midlands looks to be just about equal in terms of that rainfall. Now, again, this is over a 3 month span, so I guess I can't really cut them up in regions like that just because it's 3 months in advance. But I'm just saying, obviously, what the map has to show for now. So, just a recap for September, it will be pretty much a normal September in terms of temperatures. For precipitation, we will be above average in terms of precipitation for the month of September. For fall, we will be above average in terms of temperatures for fall, and in terms of precipitation, around half of us will be above average in terms of precipitation for fall, and the other half will be around kind of like that equal chance. So the main theme, I would say, as we move to the next 3 months, is that it's going to be warmer than average, and it will be maybe a bit wetter. And when I say that, obviously, I mean more rainfall. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say just for those 4 months. I mean, obviously, I could go on. I could, check out what the models have to say as you go further into the next couple of months. But to be honest, I don't really like to do that much because obviously it's still so far out. And I can see obviously, like on my screen you can't see it, but on my screen it just shows that it's going to be warmer than average even as you go past November as well. But we'll talk about winter when winter gets here. But for the most part, it just looks like the same thing I've been saying, just above average in terms of that precipitation, and then above average in terms of that temperature. So that concludes the month forecast and the fall forecast for the month of September, and then for the entire season of fall. Let's go on and talk about the tropics, because the tropics, we have an area that we're watching for over here in the western, just to the west of Africa and in the eastern tropical Atlantic. It says, quote, an area or a tropical wave located over the far eastern tropical Atlantic south of the Cabo Verde Islands is producing disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity. Environment and conditions appear conducive for gradual development of the system, and a tropical depression could form by the middle or latter part of this week. The system is expected to move west to west-northwest at around 15 miles per hour across the eastern and the central tropical Atlantic throughout the week. So this has a 10% chance of forming over the next 48 hours and a 60% chance of forming over the next 7 days. So again, that's a 10% chance of forming over the next 48 hours and a 60% chance of forming over the next 7 days. If you want to look at the ensembles for it right now, most of the ensembles for it, again, are just don't quite make it. Do not quite make it to even, not even really even that close to the U.S. by that time frame. You can see right here. Here's all the low pressures for it right here. You see this big clump right here. That is the area that we're watching for. You have some that goes down towards Puerto Rico. You have some that goes up and goes in between, like the Bahamas and Bermuda. You have some going up towards Bermuda, and you have some that goes up towards the Atlantic and just does not make landfall with anything. And obviously that would be the best case scenario. But for the most part, it looks like that models are still all over the place. There's not like a consensus to where all of them are kind of going inside of the same direction, like we saw with Aaron. To where we kind of just saw that curve coming in. Most of the models were kind of going the same direction. This one is a bit different because you have all of them kind of more spread out still. And so that means that there is still low confidence on where this will go. But before we even talk about where it will go, we have to make sure that this thing even forms first. Because if it doesn't form, we wouldn't have really anything to talk about. So for now, we're just trying to make sure that it forms first. And if it does form, then it will be something for us to watch for. If it doesn't form, nothing for us to watch for. But this is just what the ensembles are saying. They're still saying that it is a bit off, and just not too confident on where it's going to go right now. Let's go on now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off with my Aunt Lula, who says, "Good evening, everyone in Georgetown. We had a beautiful day. That's fantastic to hear. Thank you so much for that forecast update over there." Charles says, "Greetings, everyone. Greetings to you." Mr. Anthony says, "Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you." My Nana says, "Hello, Jay. A nice day. Hello to you, and glad that it was a nice day for me. Yeah, it was a nice day over here as well. No rainfall, anything like that. You actually go outside and enjoy the outdoors." Thad says, "Getting just if I trust all as well. It was a bit cooler today than the last few days. That's great. Good to hear that y'all been having some cooler days. Even though, it's not cool. Like, you still have high temperatures in San Antonio around 95, but it is cooler than like 100 and 101 and 102. So even a 7-degree cool down is still a cool down." Trail says, "Beautiful day here, nice and cool with a breeze." And then I went out to dinner. Delicious food. That's, again, great to hear that you got some delicious food out there. And then, again, thank you so much for that weather update. My cousin Cheryl then says, "Good evening, weatherman. Hope all is well. I hope you enjoyed your Labor Day weekend, and good evening, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed your weekend. Keep up the good work. Love you, Cheryl." Thank you so much for that comment. Glad that you are here listening with us tonight." And then Trail says, "No, not about average." Well, if you're talking about average in terms of temperatures, unfortunately, yeah, but I will say, like I said earlier, that does not mean that we won't have any cool downs or anything like that. That does not mean that we won't have any cool downs. Just technically just means that it will just be more warmer than it normally would be throughout that time frame. And so for the warmer fans out there, like me, fantastic. But for the cooler fans, fortunately, that's not so great. But that does not mean that it won't get cool. And that's all that there is inside of the audience for tonight. Let's go ahead and check out, before we talk about San Antonio, Raleigh, Philadelphia, and Duncan, Oklahoma. Let's see how many likes we have right now. I'm just going to go over here and check it out. So we've had 14 people tune in, and we only have 7 likes. I know. It's kind of crazy. 7 people decided to tune in to not hit the like button. If you're part of that 7 that have not hit the like button, make sure you go in and do so. And also hit the subscribe button. We're at 584, trying to get to 600. So now with all that out the way, let's go and talk about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Duncan, Oklahoma. If you don't know why we talk about those regions, we talk about them because we have people that watch from those locations almost every single night. So starting off with San Antonio first, low temperatures tonight at 76, high temperatures tomorrow at 95, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 75. In terms of severe weather, there is indeed no threat for any sort of severe weather. And then in terms of excessive rainfall, there is indeed, again, no threat for excessive rainfall as you move through the next 5 days. For now. For Raleigh, North Carolina, low temperatures tonight at 58, high temperatures tomorrow at 80, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 56. There is no precipitation that is expected at all through tonight and tomorrow. In terms of excessive rainfall, there is no excessive rainfall that is expected. No severe weather is expected. Then for Philadelphia, you have low temperatures tonight at 58, high temperatures tomorrow at 78, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 58. Again, no precipitation is expected. No severe weather is expected. And in terms of excessive rainfall, no excessive rainfall is expected there. So far we're on a hot streak right now of no precipitation, no severe weather. Will that change with Duncan with low temperatures tonight at 66, high temperatures tomorrow at 84, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 61. No precipitation tonight or tomorrow. There is no excessive rainfall that is expected, and there is indeed no severe weather. So no precipitation, no severe weather, no excessive rainfall. Overall, just going to be a nice period. And so that's it for those 4 locations. So what's going on throughout the entire U.S. in terms of weather news? I'm gonna be honest, not too much. I mean, you're gonna have, it's very hot out there, hot to extremely hot temperatures are in place much of this week across portions of California, going into Oregon and Washington, also going into northern Idaho and western Montana. There is indeed honestly a heat wave going on throughout those regions right now. And then obviously we have our blast of cool air that would drop across the central and the eastern U.S. later this week, bringing below to well below normal temperatures due to a cold front that will be coming by again later this week. Will it cool us down? Yeah, I've been looking honestly towards trends at like the end of the week, and for the most part, actually temperatures seem to rise as we get more into the end of the week, especially to where I am. Like I'm looking at high temperatures. I mean, on Tuesday it's gonna be 83, but then on Sunday it's gonna be 91. But then that Monday it drops to 85. So I think that'll probably push through, probably going into like that after the weekend, going into early next week. That's probably where that cool down will probably be more proficient at. So that's it for what's going on here. We do have some pictures that I do want to show. We actually did get 2 pictures, I believe, and both of them, I believe, was from Thad. He sent 2 yesterday. One of them, this was the first one here, at 6:50 p.m. Storm was rolling in. Let me see if I can go and get it up on the screen. Yeah, here it is right here. Is his picture that he sent of a storm rolling in. I believe this is his backyard. You can see the storm clouds over there on the eastern side or the right side of the screen. And you have kind of maybe some more clearer or some more lighter conditions over there on the western side or the left side of the screen. So thank you so much for that great picture. The next picture comes in, looks pretty aggressive. This is the next one that he sent. And it seems to be, again, the same thing. You can see the outer kind of like wall of the storm as it moves its way towards, or whichever way it was going. You can see kind of like the inside of the storm kind of like over here in like the center area. And then you can see the more darker clouds kind of pushing towards him. And you can kind of see how the lighter clouds are over to where he was. And then the more that the storm pushed in, the darker that the clouds did get. So thank you so much for those pictures. If you want to send a picture, you can by sending them to scweather360@gmail.com. Again, that is SC, like South Carolina, weather360@gmail.com. Just make sure that it is weather related. Top fans for tonight, Trail was by a mile, was number 1 for the top fan for tonight. My cousin Cheryl was number 2, and Mr. Anthony is at number 3. Congratulations to the 3 of y'all for being the top fans for tonight. If you want to be a part of the top fans, you can. You just have to be here early, and you have to be active inside of the chat. That's all that I have for tonight, though. Hopefully everyone found the weather forecast tonight informative. If you did, make sure you go and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, the share button. We're at 584, trying to get to 600. The tropics are ramping back up, and we did just get another subscriber, so thank you to whoever that was. So we're at 585, 15 away now from that main goal. The tropics are getting more active. This is the time to where you need to be sharing this information, because the tropics, it's been kind of quiet. People might be saying, okay, well, the tropics are not that active anymore, so, maybe I don't need to share it. Maybe I don't need to, give it to people, or some people might just be like, well, maybe I just don't have to pay attention. That's definitely not what that means. Just make sure that you go on and get it out, so you can go on and get it out to the people who need it. I will be back tomorrow morning with your Tuesday morning forecast update. Hopefully, everyone has a fantastic rest of your Labor Day. And again, happy September and happy meteorological fall.